Welcome to Voices of the Plaza, the podcast, hosted by Peggy MacArthur. This is where we amplify stories of empowerment, innovation, and success from the heart of the Global Business Plaza. Each week, Peggy introduces us to one of the creative business people, entrepreneurs, and industry experts who are shaping their fields and redefining success. Together, we'll explore unique journeys, highlight remarkable expertise, and uncover the inspiration behind their success.
Welcome to Voices of the Plaza. Today we kind of have a little surprise. Anyway, it was a surprise to me. Jamie was scheduled to be our guest today, and last night he texted and said, Peggy, I've got a surprise for tomorrow. So I thought he was going to announce a big thing that he was launching or something. And instead, Victoria is here sitting next. Go ahead, do the thing, guys. Do the thing. Yeah. That's literally in person hanging out together. So how fun. And also I'm a bit jealous that I'm the only virtual person here in our hangout, but welcome. And please, for anybody who doesn't know you, Jamie, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Victoria, introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Peggy, and thank you for allowing us to surprise you in this joyous way. Because the one thing that we did want to include is that we met through the Global Business Plaza. We met virtually, I think initially during the expo, right before the expo, the last expo. And one of the things that I took an instant shining to Victoria and her work, it was just a real wonderful opportunity because I resonate so much with what she teaches and what she talks about. And what I talk about is about community building, and I'll give my introduction in just a second, but I just wanted to just simply say one of the things that's more important in my bio or Victoria's bio is the opportunities that get created when you open yourself up to collaboration, right? What is possible when people can gather together, and how can we work to support each other? So with that little testimonial there, what I can say is I have a consultancy that I've had for a number of years that uses my last name, which is Rich Relations. I used to say that we're behind every successful project because people always thought, well, how are you able to pull these things off? And they would say, well, I have rich relations that kind of help me with that. And I always thought, well, that's a really good name, and it happens to be my last name, so I'll do that. But for years, I also had the privilege of, I've been involved in a lot of nonprofit organization work, interfaith work, helping artists and authors, other creatives in terms of their projects through a company called Open Circle. And when I reached the age of 107, I decided it was time for me to kind of like focus on.
So good for your age. I mean, and you're a white guy.
It's the tea that I drink.
I spilled the tea earlier. I mean, yeah. I do that a lot.
I love that. Spill the tea. I should do it this way. You spill the tea. But no, seriously, for anyone who's watching the podcast, my work is really focused on helping people fulfill their creative potential. And I also, I tell people a lot, what I really do is help people recreate their futures, right? People who have really made that click, that there's an idea, an initiative, something that they want to do. And when they're ready to sort of make that shift, I kind of come on the scene and say, well, all right, how can I help? And having done live events since Jesus was a small child, I can truly say every scenario possible that every creative person can find themselves in, I have been there. And so I have a genuine love for creative innovators, people who think outside the box because they were never given a box to begin with. They just had to kind of create themselves. So that's the work that I do. So that's me.
And before we let Victoria introduce herself, I just want to say, I've known Jamie for, I don't know, 9 months, maybe? Yeah, less than a year. Yeah. And I have already come to the conclusion that whenever I'm doing anything, because as you guys know, I do a lot of things. I'm like, oh, here's a great idea. Let's do it now. That instead of my last stop before launching, it's going to start being at least my second stop before launching. Like once it's out of my head, it's going to, let's sit down with Jamie because honestly, the amount of good advice that I have gotten is just it's like, oh wow. And you didn't mention you've run film festivals in Kansas City for, I mean, you've done lots of really cool things. So lots of creative people. And I, love helping creative people, obviously, and I love helping creative people protect their IP, and I love helping creative people make money. And so I think that's why all three of us align so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and I'm a creative who loves making money, so I like
There you
this
go.
connection. I mean, I like to say I don't believe in the starving artist trope. I think that I believe in a society that values art and a society that values creativity, because it is one of our greatest gifts that we have in the human experience. And I say this as I'm like sitting next to this mural over there of like Frida Kahlo, which is one of my favorite artists and painters. And, good on Jamie for bringing me a very like branded Victoria space. So, and brand identity, story, those are my things. And what I do is I help people find the power in their story to create content that connects, to build communities that they crave. And authenticity is the magic word. A lot of times we hear it, especially in marketing, especially in branding. And sometimes we might not know where to start in being authentic, or we might be even unlearning some things that we've learned. Like sometimes in my TEDx, I'm a TEDx speaker as well, artist, creative, all of those things. But in my TEDx, I talk about how I used to straighten my hair when I started my corporate job, because I thought that's what being professional looked like. And now I can't imagine not wearing, like, I think if I straightened it, people would be like, who are you? Because it's so much a part of who I am. And that's what I love helping people find is what is the thing that makes them unique and beautiful and wonderful, and be more of that. And,
Mhm.
it's okay if you've been told to fit in a box. I was, and it's being outside the box that we thrive, that we shine, and that we can kind of be brilliant. And then when we're kind of thriving outside the box, we get to meet other people who thrive outside the box. Did I think that at the beginning of 2025, I would be sitting in a cafe in Kansas City next to a
107-year-old man who's
100
but here we are.
Here we are, right? And the thing is I volunteered to come here, like, So I think that that's the magic of also when we share stories and we share who we are, we can create those opportunities for connection and collaboration that are really powerful.
Right.
That creatives businesses need, especially as we look at the ever changing times. I feel like creativity is something that's always under fire, but it is the thing that keeps us alive with fire.
Yeah. And, that resourcefulness, I know a lot of people are facing a lot of financial challenges. They have issues that come. And I always want to remind creative people that they are infinitely resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you may not have a dime to your name. I know we tend to worship a lot of, this sort of, I'm a starving artist, all these other cliches that we sort of invent. And a lot of them are based in truth, right, in terms of the situation. But what most people don't realize, that resilience doesn't come from the assets that you can count this way, but in those qualitative assets. And so you begin where you are. We're with creative people, it's just like begin. And you've heard me say this before. I feel like a lot of what I do with creative people is I can sit around and talk about all the things that might help you do what you want to do. But my biggest contribution is first giving you the permission slip to start. Because, that creative paralysis creeps in. And then secondly, or I guess I did thirdly is you lose the ability to count once you get past this.
105 is the
That's
age?
right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't count that high anymore. Now I've actually lost the train of thought that I was going to go to. No, but what you also want to be able to do, more importantly for creative people, is hold space for them so that they can have the shift that they need. It's not important what I know unless it's of value to you. So my work right now is more like a well, right? Which is I have these things. I could sit like a lot of old people do and tell you all sorts of stories about what you could or couldn't do. But my job right now is to be the well. How can I best serve by holding the space for someone to shift?
Yep.
And creative people, when I'm sure you, Peggy, I'm sure you've experienced it for yourself. Some people call it the aha moment or but to be able to be present with an artist or a creative person when they shift, it's just it's amazing, right? And it doesn't come from what I say, but from how it's integrated into what they choose to do.
So I just want you to
That's
know
my
that
TED Talk.
you guys all dropped like 35 gold nuggets that I wanted to comment on. And so I'm going to I'm going to just like go back on a couple of them. First of all, when Victoria was talking about being in a box, that we often are in a box, and then talking about the artist's aha moment, I think the thing is that when we stop trying to fit in the box, that's when we're able to see our genius, because we're always our gift, our thing that's going to make us succeed, whatever success looks like to you, that gift that's going to help you take you to success does not fit in the box. It's all those other things that people keep telling you is of no value. What's wrong with you? You're too much. You're not enough. All of those things are actually where the superpower is. And as soon as you knock that box over and just start living your truth, that's when you realize, oh, oh, oh. I've told the story before, and this is a terrible story. I'm just going to tell you a trigger warning, okay? So I'm dyslexic. I didn't learn how to read till I was like 11 years old. My dad didn't learn how to read until I learned how to read. And my grandfather never learned how to read. Both my grandfather and my father are brilliant business people, just brilliant people in general. But when I was in high school, I had a lot of struggles in school in general, because when you learn in a different way than you're being taught, you're anyway. I went to my dad once and I said the thing that every great child should never say to their parent, but I was like, you know what? You you gave me all the worst parts of you. I think I said the H word, for making me dumb like all these things. And um, it's just, even just to think about that is like, emotional. But fast forward to literally 6 months after I'd moved out on my own, I called my dad and I said, Dad, thank you for making me dumb like you, because these smart people, I don't know how they get out of bed by themselves in the morning. Like, thank you. And that was the time that I realized that what everybody in the whole world had told me was my disability and my curse and my thing that made me not enough was actually the thing that the way my brain works was really good, because I'm looking at all these quote unquote neurotypical normal people, and I'm like, whoa, how do they do anything without a checklist? And I think that that's the thing that you guys are all saying is like, knock that box over and just trust your instincts. Just trust your instincts. And I think that is, oh my God, you guys. And you guys are both so brilliant. Like, I am in awe of both of you. I always try to pick everything out of your brains that I possibly can.
Well, you first.
I mean, thank you, and I get that. Like, I mean, your brilliance is outside of the box. It always has been, and it always will be. And I feel like, because I too struggled. It took me 15 years to get my BA, and I used to think that I was really unintelligent because it took me so long. And I think it's because I tried so many other things, because I was trying to do what everybody else thought I should do or what I should be, and it wasn't until I was like, wait, who am I? What do I want to do? Storytelling. I story since I was a kid. Like, those things, like, and I like to use the term rewild sometimes. Because I'm a little bit of a wild child, Peggy knows. Currently on a cross-country road trip. For those who didn't know, it's posted on LinkedIn, so it's public now. But the thing is these things that I thought made me wild or different or weird, that's where the brilliance is and always has lived. It's
Right.
when I'm trying to be something I'm not. And I say rewild because when I get back to wherever that childlike wonder is, and a lot of us creatives have lost our way because we're trying to fit into essentially a box that is centered in capitalism. And capitalism doesn't care about your creativity. Community cares about your creativity, which is why I'm sitting next to this old man. I almost said young man, but then that wouldn't be right. I'm not going to lie to you guys. This old
dude,
man, Jamie here, because he's big on community.
Right. Because, community is capital. I'm so glad. I'm violating all the camera rules because I know I'm supposed to look at her this way rather than this way. But, and for someone who's in film, I apologize to anyone who's watching at this moment in time. But, that aspect of creative innovation, right? The thinking outside the box, it's where the magic is. And people are told not to trust that, right? We were in a conversation, I think, Peggy, you may have been there when we were talking with somebody, could it be that easy that this wonderful light idea floats into the room? Could I just do this? And that's that wonderful thing about creative innovation. It doesn't always have to be the struggle. It doesn't always have to be laden with anything. It can be born of a really difficult moment in your life, but it's that difference between light and heavy. And that when that creative fire, that light, that energy, just kind of like it clicks. You can see it in someone's eye. You can sense it, and it's so. Again, one of the things that we were going to talk about originally before I pulled this surprise on you is in the Global Business Plaza, one of the things I want to be able to sort of create, I shouldn't say going to, but the idea is that is creating a space for creative innovators to get together on a weekly basis simply to have an idea jam. No agenda, just be able to have a focused time where we can just let ideas flow. The tendency is that people tend to think about brainstorming, and it becomes like this, I got to think of something really clever to do. And, whereas you can, when you're in the presence of creative innovators, you can share openly because no one's going to be there to pop your balloon and tell you, well, have you really thought through that idea? Or something. Creatives, you, and I'm sure both of you can agree with this because, I know, Peggy, your career as a photographer, people can crush your soul really easily in that moment. Because, well, who's going to buy that idea? How could that ever be possible? You instantly go into this evaluation mode with it, and you discount any of the light that's there. But if you can be with people who will sit there and let that balloon kind of play around for a while, and you have it as a focus time, because as we know, creative people can also get together and do this for hours. But we want to be able to set a time frame on it so that we can respect each other's contributions. That's
we're actually launching that on Monday. We're launching that for you on Monday, and then you'll have to pick your time. Yep, we're not waiting for you to do it. We're doing it. Remember, it's happening.
But I'm sure that will resonate with creative people who are watching this right now, right? That if we can only hold that space where people are allowed to sort of have that shift, what magic can come of that, right?
Yeah, that is. Oh, go ahead, Victoria. You cut out.
Did we lose?
Oh, are you guys having
just that?
We're with you. We can hear you.
Okay, good. I was like, no, because you guys are going to carry on. If you guys lose me, I know what's going to happen. Peggy's going to be sitting here all by herself, and you guys are going to carry on.
That's right.
I mean, eventually that will happen.
We'll high five each other for the really great idea that we just came with.
You're like, wink, wink. We can't hear you, Peggy.
That's right.
Actually, what will happen is Peggy will call me.
I will. I'll be like, I have your number.
You got all the things. But no, I appreciate the audience for letting us have this like very 5D experience, because what's so interesting, and I have yet to meet Peggy in real life IRL, but I met Jamie through the Global Business Plaza. So it's this because I feel like sometimes too we hear this myth that community can't be built online, and yes, you should be building community in places where you feel seen. And if that is online, by all means, go for it. Peggy is like the like master of like go for it, build it. I love that, it's the field of dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. That is Peggy MacArthur. Because the thing is because I travel so much, I'm not, anyone who knows me knows that I'm not in one place for too long. I mean, that's the H in ADHD. I have been moving and shaking since I was a kid. My parents have tried to get me in one place for a long time, and it doesn't seem to happen. But the thing is having accessibility to build community on the road wherever I am is absolutely a gift. And then to be able to reap the benefits of that in real life connection, to just deepen the community that we built virtually, like that is the magic of the Global Business Plaza and what GoBrunch offers.
Yes, and I just love, I'm seriously, I very very rarely am I the jealous type or the FOMO type, but let me just tell you, it has been a many years since I've said out loud, man, I wish I was in Kansas City, Missouri.
I've never said that until this morning. So,
And in honor of that comment, though, I regret that the internet was largely, and internet marketing and all of these things was largely formed by people who wanted to use this technology as a way of manipulating people into doing things that were not in alignment with their highest value. So now I can say to you, as somebody who has done events forever and ever in quote in real life, that the wonderful thing that I see happening is that you can use the community building principles that are as genuine as they are: authenticity, immediacy, intimacy. Even if I never meet Peggy MacArthur in person, she is still a authentic, wonderful part of my community. And it's not like some internet marketing thing where I said, well, I'm going to get a bunch of email addresses and I'm going to start building this business and I'm going to crank up this thing. All of that bro marketing nonsense about how to use, and I'm glad I stuck around long enough to see this, to see the internet and to see community building and using platforms that allow this to happen. I mean, I met my husband online, right, who was in a halfway across the world, right? And I had friends who said to me, Jamie, you might want to focus on people who are in your real world. I mean, they literally said that to me, And so, yeah, a gentleman that I met from halfway around the world and I have been together here in Kansas City, Missouri for the past 11 years, right? So things are possible. You can bridge it. You can form really good, authentic online communities and have wonderful joy things like this. But you use the same principles of community building, genuine, relatable. So, go do that.
Just because you can lie and manipulate online doesn't mean you should lie and manipulate online, because let's be honest, people can lie and manipulate in real life face to face as well. So just because those things can happen online, they can happen anywhere. Also online, we can have real, true, honest relationships. I feel like I just spent an hour and a half with Victoria last week doing a branding archetype. And if anybody knows me, I think it's Victoria at this point, because she asked some questions and it was like, I was like, I don't know. Let me ask ChatGPT about this, because I don't even know this answer to this question about myself. Let me see. Let me get a third opinion here. But yeah. So, and I feel like same way with Jamie and a ton of the members of the Global Business Plaza. I feel like I know them in a very real, deep way, more so than I know a lot of my friends that I go to coffee with or go to the theater with. Like, I feel like I actually, because we're actually in a community and we're actually helping each other and we're helping grow each other's businesses. And we see that time when it's like, screw it, I don't want to do this anymore.
And that's another fundamental principle of creative innovation, is that it's not either or.
Yeah.
You know, I know both of you have probably had a time in your life when some probably male person said to you, you've got to choose one or the other. You're going to have to make money or do what you love. You can't do both of them. Or if you are going to do what you love, you have to do what you love so that it makes money. There's always this conditional choice, right?
Yep.
But in truth, you know, creativity and creative innovation is an and principle. This happened to me in my life, whatever it may be, and I was able to do this. You know, I worked for the IRS for years, right? And I was able to be a successful musician. Whatever your and experience is, it's not like, well, I had to choose. You know, and you know, as you know, there's a lot of people my age who sit around moaning about what they weren't able to do, and it's because they were given that insufferable choice of saying, well, you know what, you have to do either or.
Yeah.
But creative people need to say, well, you can be and you can be a mom, you can be a business owner, you can be a textile artist, you can be a Reiki healer. You know, whatever your and experience is, it adds value to yourself and to the world. So, you know.
I love that. Victoria, it looked like you were going to say something. Go for it.
Oh, I mean, I definitely have a few words about both and. You should go watch my TEDx if you're curious about that. I mean, because, I mean, I've been told my whole life to pick a lane, pick a box. You know, are you Black? Are you Mexican? Are you Native? What are you? And I'm like, all of it. You know, I don't have to, like, I can be both and I think that that's the very nature of life, right? Like, when we're asked to pick one thing or be one thing, especially as creatives, we got the reggaeton going. Like,
Can you hear that?
just appreciate.
We can hear it.
I know that, like, this is not the norm, but the thing is that's the both and experience. You get a really vibrant, real experience, and creatives so much feel like this pressure to be one thing, and we dismiss evolution. We dismiss the shift and the changes that we do in our day to day, right? Like, hey, you started out with headshots, and now you're building virtual communities on top of headshots, on top of teaching and mentoring. Creators, we are people who live in the both and not just live in it, we thrive in it. That is the gift that we offer to the world. And the more that we just be all of who we are, the better I really believe our world can be.
Right.
So
And these are things that people who are watching. Oh, go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to say, like, I decided I was going to be a photographer when I was 10 years old. And I literally spent my whole life pushing towards that. Like, even, you know, when I was very young, I was taking night classes at the community college in photography, like doing all of these things to go to that direction. And then I've always loved photography, and I probably always will love photography. But there was some time where I felt like this was the decision I made. I have to do this. Like, it did not occur to me really until about 5 years ago that I could and also.
But, you know, what you're talking about right now is commitment. But commitment is always a conscious choice, right?
Uh-huh.
It's coming from that idea that, you know, I want to stay committed to this idea. It's important to me, right? So if, again, going back to that whole concept of light and heavy, you know, if your life is full of a lot of heaviness, are there some light choices? Are there these ideas that go, well, I could maybe do this. I could maybe add to it. And so, you know, it's okay to have a long time dream. It's okay to have committed to yourself, you know, and now I'm going to sound like a self-help guy, but it's also really important to forgive yourself, because you know what? You were making the best decisions that you knew. And until you can kind of come to some idea and understanding of what self-verification of your own life feels like, when you can sort of just say, oh, wait, this this aligns with who I am. And that can happen when you're, 102 or 13, right? So the idea is that you always get that ability to make that conscious choice, right? Do I choose to take this forward into my next development, or is it time for to let that go?
And that's the thing with Jamie. Jamie, if Jamie was at his house right now, he would hold up a slip that says permission slip.
That's right.
And in the Time Benders program, I always tell people at the end, I'm like, what do you need to forgive yourself for? And just let all of those things go, because everything that has happened in our past has brought us to our present. So, there are some choices maybe we wished we didn't make, but it still got us to where we are today. So we can keep going forward. And I love that Jamie has a permission slip that he's got on hand ready to hold up. And when
you with me today, but I've got a credit card. Would that work?
That'll work for me, Jamie.
Not supposed to flash your credit card publicly.
I think it's a thing you have to tell old people not to do.
Millennial sitting next to you having a panic attack, going, "No, somebody's going to scan that from 100 yards away. What are you doing?"
Let me read it to you if you can't hear it.
All right,
Grandma.
That is
grand uncle, Jamie gets that. But I mean, what Jamie's talking about is the seasons of life, those ebbs and flows.
Mm-hmm.
In Colorado, sometimes when I feel overwhelmed with life, I'll look at the mountains. I love a good mountain scene, and I remember once, somebody, it's around a campfire, because that's where I feel a lot of wisdom comes. It's around a campfire. Somebody was like, I wonder what life would be without, or what that mountain range would be without the peaks and the valleys. And I was like, it'd be flatlined. And it's the same thing with life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would life be without those ebbs and those flows and those ups and downs? We all have peak moments. We all have valley moments. And seeing it all together it brings a richness of life. I feel like Jamie was speaking about that. It's as if his last name, Rich, something to that. As we're talking about the richness of life. Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we then begin to develop expectations. So one of the things that I always talk about is with people, especially people of a certain age, you can still recreate your future. No matter what life has thrown at you, it could be a tremendous life-changing physical challenge, but there is still that room for choice, right? How do I choose to respond, right? And within that is the power, right? And that helps you recreate your own future. So I don't know how much time we have left in this time, but that is a really, really important skill for people to. The resilience comes from being able to be present in your moment and choose, even despite what life throws at you, because all of us have had things that life throws at us, right? And so it's not the absence of these things, despite what some people like to tell in their stories that I'm a self-made man, I did this all myself or whatever. The truth of the matter is, just like Victoria was saying, with the peaks and valleys, right? What allows us to keep going is that ability to say, you know what, I'm fully aware of what has happened to me, and I can choose to go forward. Whatever that result is, I have that choice between these two things, which seem to be twin pillars that are preventing me.
Yep. Okay, so I want each of you to give your one tip that you want all of our listeners to go away with today. Your one little brilliant piece of nugget for the viewers or the listeners. Sometimes I forget we're a podcast also, and we don't always have viewers. Some people listen.
I mean, it's the being all of who you are and claiming all those parts of your story. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to share it all publicly, but acknowledgement of it all, especially when it comes to like content creation or how you choose to build community, whether that be digitally or in real life. The more authentic you can show up in that wholeness, the more rich of the connection, the community, and that's just going to feed into your creativity. So one tip is just recognize your peaks in life, recognize your valleys in life, and don't be afraid to share about both of those sides of it, because that is truly what makes the beautiful range of it all.
Aww.
And I guess what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to try to introduce it really simply. it's about sacred selfishness. It's about being able to say the first rule of life saving is you cannot help someone until you are safe yourself, right? So for today, whatever you're choosing, maybe choose yourself first. Hashtag you first. And it doesn't mean selfishness doesn't mean I'm only going to be thinking of myself. Sacred selfishness is in order for me to be who I am, you have to be who you are. And so we're trying to incorporate that into what we're doing. So think of you first today.
I think that's going on a t-shirt, sacred selfishness.
It'll go viral. If anyone can make it go viral. Did you hear what
Hey, yeah, let's talk about that, Miss Viral LinkedIn poster.
I am. Yeah.
Victoria actually helps people with their LinkedIn. So the fact that she just went viral just actually gives her so much credibility right now. Go for it. Tell us about this.
I went viral on LinkedIn because I shared my truth and authenticity. So I get this a lot. So I coach people and consult with people through content creation. And it's generally being your real self and authenticity. Sometimes it's the things that we're like, oh, I shouldn't post that. It's the thing that we question. Oh, is anybody going to like that? Is anybody relate? That's the stuff that goes viral. And so I ended up posting about how I had been in an experience where I was at, a work event and somebody hugged me when I didn't want them to. And I recognized that I was like, ooh, while I'm a very gregarious person, I don't actually love hugs, or I think I love consent, which should be like for everything that we do. It shouldn't be weird. And so I just posted about how I felt like I didn't have to hug people if I didn't want them, and that was okay. And it went viral. And what people saw is they saw themselves in that. They saw the relatability. I wasn't really going from advice. I was really just going from my own experience, my own story, my own comfort zone. And it opened up this big conversation with hundreds, almost 1,000 likes, 100,000 impressions and counting, 20 plus reshares. Like it's and hundreds of comments where people were just wanting to have a conversation about consent in workplace. And that's the kind of stuff when we create these moments, especially in a place like LinkedIn, that, this briefcase app that feels like we have to be professional, and who's defining that, or, we got to get pitchy and salesy. I didn't talk about my offers that day. I talked about my life. And in that, I got a number of people who wanted to know what I do, how they could work with me, more about my story. And the thing is I have wanted to share about those physical touch boundaries that I've carried with me in the workplace for years. And it was the day that I was finally like, you know what? I'm going to talk about it, that I was able to spark a conversation that was global and that really inspired a lot of people. And
I love that. I love it so much, because I think we can all relate to that, whether it's hugs or just whatever boundary it is. So I love that. I love that.
Boundaries are self-care, Jamie.
That's right.
Yes, it's sacred selfishness is what boundaries are. They're sacred selfishness.
Exactly. It's
powered by Rich Productions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's anchored in love. And that's why I think the hugs, because I hug people. I hug Jamie. He asked. And
it's like, you just went viral. I'm not going to be the topic of your next post.
He asked. Which, Jamie is such great energy. And I think that's the beautiful balance of it. Like, I was so excited to see Jamie. I'm people, when we find connection, and then we're like, I can't wait to see that person. Like, yeah, that's when you can get that excitement and say, I'm going to intentionally go to Kansas City.
That's right. And speaking to her post for one last second, one of the posts was, in terms of, she took it in an authentic way of just, no makeup, it was a pretty raw photo of herself. And look, when I first started coming to GoBrunch, I was like, oh my God, how old am I? And, I am probably the least telegenic person to ever sit in one of these podcast circles. But here's what I will say. The idea is you have to kind of let that go, right? Because you're standing in your own light if you're looking at that dark part of yourself, right? And there was part of me who's like, oh, if I could, who is this old guy that's talking in my voice, right? But you let that go because you miss the joy in the present moment, right? And so those are those connections. So again, the permission slip I gave to myself was just, you know what, dive in. There's a circle here, it'll all be fine.
Yep. Yep.
I
My LinkedIn tip is be weird, be wild, be you, and your people will find you.
Yeah.
Like that's how we found each other.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys, I'm putting you on the spot. We're going to talk about the Global Business Plaza and GoBrunch. So anybody that's on the fence that's like, I don't know, what is Peggy always talking about? Like, what is, hold on, Isla's leaving the comment here. Why is Jamie stand out in your own light? Yep, that is true. If you're standing in your own light. Yep. Okay, so what is, if people are like, what is Peggy always talking about, this GoBrunch? What in the heck? What would you say to somebody? What would you say?
You go first on that one.
I was going to post on this. I had the privilege yesterday of being in 2 different GoBrunch environments, one with Dr. CK and the incredible work that she is doing across the globe, and also with another gentleman named Dave, and I always mispronounce his last name. But what's so important about a platform like GoBrunch and why the Global Business Plaza is, you can come to a platform and you can learn about it. But if you're going to be participating in something that's about collaboration, come to an environment like the Global Business Plaza, which will through the experience that you will have of others supporting you, the connections that you can make, you will understand how to make this technology work for you in your own way. You could sit somewhere in a room and figure this stuff out and never know that, again, creative people need to rub up against each other. I'm not sure about this idea. And we're afraid sometimes to be able to kind of do something. Well, I'm still trying to find the keyboard, but the Global Business Plaza takes people from where they are to where they'd like to be, but where they'd like to be isn't all the same. That's what I think is so most important. The technology piece allows you to, I'll go back to the thing that Victoria was saying, is to be who you are. So you can be in an environment where you can be the best Peggy MacArthur you want to be, and it may be very different than the way in which Jamie Rich chooses to use GoBrunch as well. So that's the gift of the Global Business Plaza, and a technology that is still trying to find itself out, and where the creative innovators are beginning to continue to make their mark.
Yeah. I mean, the Global Business Plaza has been a space, and fun story, I had to be dragged kicking and screaming by Isla. But the moral of that story is that if you're unsure,
Aisla is always right.
That's on the record for Aisla, wherever she may be, that Aisla is always right. I said those words. But no, truthfully. But I think that you don't have to understand it to be a part of it. I think is a great space. What I recognized is that there was a group of people that were business owners like me that were having the same ups and downs, but also then the same maybe celebrations. And what I love about the Global Business Plaza is that I get to be unapologetically myself in my brilliance and be celebrated for that. I've been a part of a variety of business groups, and some of them are the kind of like boxy business, like let's talk forecasting, let's talk sales, let's talk conversion. And not to say those aren't a part of business, but that's not the heart of business. And I want to be a part of community that is about the heart of business.
Yeah.
And that's the Global Business Plaza for sure.
And no one in real life ever says, I'd like you to meet my best friend who came through me through a sales funnel, and so, but yet we're supposed to think that that's the truth in online communities, right? So anyway, use real life,
Yeah.
It's just about being you.
Yeah. Be you.
So tell me, Victoria, how does it feel to bring clients to your GoBrunch room? Like, how do you, like, because you're fairly new, I mean, within the last last 9 months or so. So how does it feel to bring your clients to your GoBrunch room?
It's so cool because as a storyteller, setting a stage in a space and then having an actual story saloon that people can go and meet with me, because I have a newsletter, the Story Saloon, where I talk about building story brands, where I talk about storytelling and all of these things. But then there's an actual saloon, old-timey saloon that Peggy MacArthur built for me. It's got wild cards in it. You know, it's an actual bar. I mean, people are allowed to bring actual drinks if they would like, you know. But what it does is it deepens that space. When people walk in, they do feel, you know, we're at the end. They can tell their story, they can relax, and they can be themselves. A little component in um, GoBrunch is tremendous. Like, people are just blown away because it makes it more real. And if we're talking about authenticity and realness, why not use tools like the Global Business or GoBrunch and places like the Global Business Plaza to make it real?
So, Jamie, you are building a community in GoBrunch. Tell us about your GoBrunch space. How do you feel about GoBrunch?
Well, what I was going to build up, but I had a big online community or offline in this city community that I was connected to, and one of the things that I think is okay to also remember is it's not for everybody. Not everybody is going to cross the Rubicon with you, and that's okay. Because again, going back to creative principles, it may not resonate with some people, but for the people that it does, again, there's that little click when I show them GoBrunch, I bring them into my room. I can already see their wheels turning. So I'm very basic. My entry room is just me, the other person, and a couple of chairs, right? Because I've had large offline communities, with film festivals and mailing lists and whatever. But it's that intimate conversation that I can have with somebody in a GoBrunch room. And remember, a lot of the people that I'm working with are people of a certain age, right? And I also do a lot of work in the LGBTQ plus community. So being able to provide a safe space for them, you can go to GoBrunch / out here together and learn about the Safe Space Alliance that we're creating on GoBrunch, so that there are places that are safe for queer people who are under attack from DEI, erasure, can have safe conversations. And that happens in very small, very simple, very basic conversations that are very powerful. And if someone can be in that room, if I can hold that GoBrunch space for them, it doesn't make a difference whether or not they shift to GoBrunch as a platform. But I see that shift when it goes off with them, that they want to be able to do something. So here's a space that's out from underneath the oppression of the algorithm, right? This is a space where you can have authentic conversations, where no one's going to come at you with ads, where there are no trolls and haters, because how are they going to find you unless and even if they do, there's a button where you can kick them out. So this idea is, when I bring people to the community, to me, it's one-on-one. It's small groups. That's just me. Victoria has another approach because it works well for her. But that's the beauty of it, right? Again, it's you go back to being you. So I'm building what is a large offline community, if you will, and bringing them in with that same sort of care. I mean, because I can still remember growing some of these organizations when we had nothing on the mailing list. We had an idea. And I remember celebrating when we got, we used to lick stamps and steal envelopes and do bulk mail. Here's the old man is about to tell stories of the past, kids. But anyway, it begins where you begin. You begin where you begin. You start with you and your idea and who that resonates with. I love what Victoria does with the whole idea of find your tribe, being able to sort of go out, find your people, to focus on your community and focus on who's there, not on who's not there.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that people who are so obsessed, well, why am I not reaching this? And it's like, well, wait, who do you have there?
Yeah.
Start with them.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need a large following to make a large impact.
That's right. You just need impact.
You just need impact. Exactly. You don't need 50,000 people to see your post. Victoria. No, I'm teasing.
But it's not,
right. You need those people that need to see it and to be there. And I was just picking on you. I'm so proud of you for going viral and all that, Anyway, guys, this has been a wonderful surprise for me, and I hope everyone has enjoyed it. I know just talking to you guys, we could do it all day long, but I guess we have to respect people's time, blah, blah, blah. So we will let you go for now. I will be back next Thursday, same time. So make sure that you tune in or watch us wherever you watch your favorite or listen to your favorite podcast. But thank you so much, guys. This has been wonderful.
You're most welcome. We'll share the 2-shot together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie.
Should we high? Oh, we're doing actual high five.
High five.